Final Fantasy has always been about using diverse parties and creative strategies to deal with every situation. Even Final Fantasy I, as simple as it is, has 6 pickable different classes you can use, all of which have their own specialties. The game expects you to go with a balanced party of your big damage dealer, big magic damage dealer, healer, and tank. But what if you just didn't do that? The executives over at Squeenix don't want you to know this, but there is a forbidden party that you can make. It's the legendary and forbidden quadruple monk strategy. This means no offensive magic, no healing magic, no buffing or debuffing of enemies, nothing. Nothing but your own fists, all 8 of them, to carry you through the journey. This journey will be undertaken by our 4 monks, Mobius, Unafraid, Nilbert, and Kyle. Let's get started. We start off in the city of Cornelia, where we immediately go ahead and take off all our clothes. This causes the nearby guard to arrest us for our indecency and take us straight to the king. The king notices the shiny rocks we used to cover our nether regions and assumes we're the warriors of prophecy. He then asks us to rescue his daughter Sarah from the clutches of the evil knight Garland up in the Chaos Shrine. We happily accept his request as a get-out-of-jail-free card, and we go do some preparatory shopping. As the most esteemed knight of the kingdom, Garland won't go down without a fight. We buy some leather armor so that our bodies are protected, and buy some authentic Japanese nunchaku. From there, we make our way up north to the Chaos Shrine to confront Garland. As monks, we have no other way to defend ourselves than just mindlessly punching the enemy in front of us. After making it through Garland's pack of guard dogs and their walking chew toys, we finally make it to the legendary knight himself. Garland plans to use Princess Sarah as a bartering chip to take over the whole kingdom of Cornelia. Garland then proceeds to go down without a fight, and we successfully bring Sarah back to the king. He then double downs on his belief that we are the prophesized warriors of light and rebuilds the bridge connecting us to the rest of the land. From there, we proceed to go northeast, meet Matoya, who needs us to retrieve her crystal eye, and head over to the port town of Pravoka to deal with the local pirate problem. The captain, realizing he's been beaten by a bunch of lunatics, promptly gives his boat up. With our newfound naval transportation, we find ourselves going due west until we encounter Mount Dwerger. The dwarves here only speak in an indecipherable language known as Scottish. Thanks to Google Translate, turns out they need some nitro powder, and we make our way towards Elfheim, down south. Turns out their prince has been asleep for a long time, and we gotta go get him some coffee to wake him up. Since we don't know any licensed baristas, we make our way left towards the Western Keep. The king of the Western Keep tells us that Astos, king of the Dark Elves, took his crown and hid it in the marsh cave down south. We make our way through the Miyazaki-approved swampland and make it into Marsh Cave. Now, up until now, battles have been very simple. I haven't shown them because they are as simple as punch, punch, punch. You're gonna do it. You'll kill everything in 1 or 2 rounds of combat. Except for this green slime that is resistant to physical attacks, including those of my authentic iron nunchakus. Not to mention that every single enemy in this stupid Miyazaki-approved swamp cave just poisons you from basic attacks. Finally, when we reach the end of the cave, we find ourselves the chest with the dark crown in it, but it's been trapped by a couple of octopus-headed guys. And boy, do they hurt. After getting the crown from the fishmen and going back up to see the king of the Western Keep, he goes, "Psych, got him!" And it turns out he was the dark elf Astos all along. Astos is the first real threat of this game, allowing me to rely on strategy. He is instantaneously defeated. With Astos defeated, he gives us a crystal eye, which we take back to Matoya so she can mix us up a drink for the elf prince, go back to the elf prince, wake him up, and he gives us the key that makes us the master of unlocking. We then go all the way back to Cornelia, get the secret blasting powder that they for some reason had, go back to the dwarves, and they use that to irreparably damage the environment by blowing us up a new canal. From there, we travel all the way west to the town of Melmond, and then go even further west to go into the Earth Cave, where the dreaded Lich has corrupted the land. Now, unbeknownst to me, this is where the strategy on Monk is actually a little bit different. See, until now, I had nunchucks equipped, which, despite the game saying they had more power, was actually just incorrect, as the actual difference in speed from unequipping them pretty much tripled the damage output. So just like Rock Lee, the training weights were off. We are now at peak power as we progress through this cave. After making mincemeat of all the chumps before this boss, we now fight the dreaded Lich, one of the 4 elemental fiends, the one governing that of Earth. And just like everything else, he'd be a pushover too. Okay. Oh, I might have gotten a little cocky. Alright, Thundara, that's fine. That's not fun. Oof. And just like Rock Lee, I lost. Even with the training weights off, the Lich seemed too difficult to challenge, so I had no choice but to train myself. Body, mind, and spirit. After an intensive 1-hour session of just having auto attack on, the monks were ready. Potions were consumed, sleeping bags were used, and they were ready to fight him one last time. Possibly their last bout ahead of them, the monks ready. They all go into attack. Unafraid manages to do big damage, Mobius half of that. They are struck by a Phyra, and it doesn't instantly kill them. That is a positive. They all go into attack again. Paltry damage numbers from anyone that isn't Unafraid. Unafraid has been paralyzed, the Lich knowing that he's the greatest. However, Mobius has done an equivalent amount of damage. We quickly remedy Unafraid. A Thundara hits us. We aren't instantly killed by a second magic attack. There is hope. Kyle transcends his limits, dealing a quarter of the boss's HP in one hit, followed by Mobius, who deals the finishing blow. With the legendary Fiend of Earth being defeated, it may seem that our heroes were indeed the prophesized warriors of light. Our heroes, restoring the light of the Earth Crystal, seek out to find the next fiends. But not before a little detour. Now, normally, what you do from here is you head all the way east to Crescent Lake, get the canoe, go up to the Mount Gold volcano, and go defeat the fire fiend Merilith. We're not going to do that. We're going to take a small detour. Now, we still make our way over to Crescent Lake, just to grab the canoe, so that way we can head up north to the ice caverns. Now granted, after fighting the Lich, I might have been a little overpowered. The Cave of Ice wasn't that big of a challenge. Except for the Mind Flayers. I don't want to talk about the Mind Flayers. Why do they insist on just putting in an enemy that has an attack that does no damage, but if it hits you, you have a chance to instantly die? I don't even understand. Why do they do this? What am I gonna do? After eventually reloading my save data because I have OCD about my characters being the same level, I make it to the end of the cave. There's an absolutely trivial boss fight at the end against Evil Eye, it dies in a couple of hits, and then we receive the reward we were looking for. The Levistone. Now with this Levistone, we can head down to the south portion of the desert, right below Mount Golg. Going there will allow us to unlock the airship. I have no idea how you're supposed to figure this out on your own. I'm pretty sure I talked to every NPC, and I didn't get any clue. I had to look it up, because I'm stupid. But now, with the airship, we can do a little bit of sequence breaking. We immediately fly all the way up north to the town of Gaia, buy some pretty good equipment. We then make our way west to speak with the Dragon King Bahamut, and tells us to go get a token of courage. Then we fly a little bit back east to go towards the Citadel of Trials, where the Courage of Token is housed. Upon getting into the Citadel of Trials, it turns out the Trial is just trying to figure out what teleporters go where, and avoiding every Mind Flayer encounter you might find. I want to point out that the Protect Ring says protects against instant death, but that is not the case. I hate these enemies and they keep showing up until the end of the game. I don't like them. Upon reaching the end, we get a Rat's Tail, which is our token of courage, and we have to fight a very easy boss fight against 2 zombie dragons. We can now head back to Bahamut, and this is where the game gets a little nutty with how strong we get this early on. The two things I love most in video games are advanced class promotions and skill trees. This game has the former. He upgrades our monks from the bog standard to just walking Kenshiros. Undefeatable by pretty much everything till the end of the game. Now that our monks have ascended into masters, we can pretty much just clear the rest of the game from here. It's very fast, surprisingly. I was surprised just going through it the first time. So let's do that. Let's go finish the game. Now, one last pit stop before we head back to Mount Gold. We need to head up to the Northwest Desert to buy a ferry that's been sold off on the slave market. Upon bringing that ferry back home, they will give us an herb called oxyale, so we can breathe underwater. We need this herb so we can go down into the mermaids' underwater city and free them from the Kraken, the fiend of water, but we'll get to that later. We go ahead and fly back to Mount Golg and can just go ahead and walk on lava now because we're just that powerful, and make our way up to Merilith all the way at the bottom of the volcano. Merilith is no challenge at all, and we easily defeat the proto-monster Musume girl before she even has a chance to do any real damage. Now, even though we are masters, bosses still end up hurting us. However, the actual damage output we do is insane at this level. With the Light of the Fire Crystal restored, our next objective is to go back to Onrak and use the submarine to go down to the Water City. However, we take another detour to go into the cave behind a waterfall, just so that we can get a device that lets us go into the Mirage Tower in the Northwest Desert. With that out of the way, we talk to the mysterious lady by this submarine, and she gives it to us. That way we can head underwater. She then just fades off into nowhere. I guess she was a mermaid ghost or something, but we head down to save them. The endangered wildlife of this temple is no match for our manly might as we make our way through. We inevitably find an ancient relic called the Rosetta Stone that we need to give to someone later. Upon reaching the end of the underwater temple, we find the Kraken, Fiend of Water. He is once again a pushover, but at least he makes us look cool while doing so. We take the Rosetta Stone over to Dr. Un, who teaches us the language of the Lufenians, the people who made the flying fortress that the Wind Fiend, Tiamat, is currently residing in. In Lufenia, they give us the Chime, which lets us get into the Mirage Tower, and using the Warp Cube we got from the robot, we can teleport into the Flying Fortress. From here, the game does get a little tougher. The enemies in the Flying Fortress are nothing to scoff at. While they don't deal a lot of damage, there are a lot of them, and it's a very long dungeon, and at this point, the amount of high potions and potions you can carry is just not enough to get through it without making some mistakes. Not to mention I don't have a mage that can teleport us out of the dungeon, so I can't use anything like sleeping bags or fly to an inn. This is a problem later, but right now it's a little manageable. There's a device in the center of the airship that shows us that the 4 elemental shrines are flowing energy into the Chaos Shrine. This is probably bad and has something to do with the final boss. We finally make our way up to Tiamat, and she does prove to be a tougher challenge. I did have to grind a little for her, but it wasn't nearly as much as the Lich. I hate her magic. Her bombardment of magic is very strong, and at some point I did have to let some people die just to secure the victory. With the light of the last crystal restored, our next objective is to head back to the Chaos Shrine, where it all started. With the 4 crystals powered up, going to the big black crystal in the middle of the room actually opens up a portal that leads us 2,000 years into the past, right before the fiends awoke. Now, the Chaos Shrine is an incredibly long dungeon. I don't actually have enough high potions to get through it without running from some battles. Not to mention, pretty much every enemy from the elemental dungeons, as well as the 4 elemental fiends, make a return. The Lich, Kraken, and Merilith are alright, but Tiamat's still a problem. Not to mention mind flayers can show up, and once again, the instant death accessory doesn't help. Again, I want to emphasize how annoying this dungeon is without any healing magic. I had used up almost all of my high potions by the end. And then, if I wanted to leave and buy more, that means I have to go through like 8 or 9 floors of dungeon to get back. Not to mention that Tiamat kill required me to grind a bunch beforehand, meaning I'm already lower on items than I should be. And that does not bode well for when we have to fight the final boss. After about an hour of dungeon, we finally make it to the final chamber, where we find again the Night Garland waiting for us. He claims that the power of the crystal sent him back in time 2,000 years ago, where he made the 4 elemental fiends to send into the future. Thus, when he died in the future, they would send him back, creating an infinite time loop where he is immortal. He becomes the all-powerful fiend Chaos, and it's time for our final battle. Oh, what was that? Thundaga, how much damage is that gonna do? That did a decent amount. Potion Nilbert. Hey, he lived. That's all I can ask. I can try and Phoenix down. Kiraja. Oh. I understand. Man, I hope that is an insta-kill. It sure got close, though. Chaos at the moment was just too powerful. He had 20,000 HP and could take out all of my guys within 2 turns. I had no choice but to run, tail between my legs, and go punch some other monsters in the face for a couple hours. But this isn't the normal grinding that we did against the Lich. With this, we are going to transcend our limits, harden our fists, harden our spirits, harden our bodies, and this time, we aren't even going to skip leg day. We are going to become what you fear most, Chaos. The legendary super monk, born every once in 2,000 years. And there's 4 of us. This is it. Our final showdown. And it's begun. We're capped out on HP. We're going in for hits. Flare hits us, only does 1/3 of our health. We don't care. We've gone beyond what you can defeat, Chaos. Only another 1/3 of our HP? Don't even make me laugh. Another Fyraga? What's it gonna do? Nothing. That's what. We're now resistant to fire from all the training we've done. Mobius has been knocked down. His sacrifice will not be forgotten. It's getting close. Everyone is on their last legs. Slowra on Unafraid. That's not the worst thing that could happen. Nilbert has died as well, but his sacrifice will not be in vain. Chaos hasting himself. Hasting himself again. He's going turbo speed. And with that, he's gone. With that, Chaos is defeated. Because of this, the time paradox loop shenanigans he created are no longer happening. However, because of that, the Warriors of Light themselves did not exist. The sacrifice of our 4 monks, Mobius, Unafraid, Nilbert, and Kyle, will forever just be a name lost in legend. The legend of the 4 monks. I do want to go ahead and say thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, please make sure to let me know by liking, commenting, and subscribing. I would like to know what I did right and what I did wrong. All feedback is appreciated. This was a heck of a lot of fun to record, though of course the actual level of thinking I had to do was pretty low. You know what they say, curled fist, smooth brain. So hopefully I can see you around for the next video. Thank you so much for watching.